Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben for a double whammy episode, because we didn't have an episode yesterday, so we need to catch up. We need to tell you everything that we've been doing these last 2 days. Wow, we certainly have been busy. I'm just trying to think of what I've done now. But yeah, we've been absolutely busy, and yeah, the temperature's changing. Where has the sunshine gone? I can't believe it. From what was glorious last week at 18 degrees, it's now back in single figures again and on the verge of snowing. So where has the sunshine gone? Who has been singing? Please let me know. So yeah, we have been so busy these last few days, and in a good way, in a really good way. The reason why we didn't get a podcast yesterday is just that I've signed up to the gym, so I'm hoping to get fit again and get that six-pack ready for summer. Be lots of selfies then. But yeah, got absolutely loads to do this. I'm back at work tomorrow, but the job list for next week is getting longer and longer as we're getting closer to getting ready to be outside. But I've got so much to do. It's just unbelievable at the moment, and I keep creating more and more jobs for me to do down at the allotment, and I need to stop it, and I need to stop buying plants. Oh dear, if you saw my Instagram post today, I only went to Morrison's for food and I came out with plants. But yeah, right, let's start off with today's episode. So yesterday was Tuesday, if I remember rightly, and it was actually not a bad day, to be honest, but we spent most of it inside my shed, as obviously I've done literally most things outside now. It's all near enough ready for growing in, ready when the time comes and when the frost disappears, so we can start growing outside. But we have started, I've tidied all my shed up now. My shed's completely tidy. All the bindweed, what was wrapped around it before, has totally gone. It's all looking fantastic again and happy, and I can actually see where I'm going now in the shed rather than having to fight my way through the jungle. But yeah, it's looking absolutely brilliant again now in there. It could do with a lick of paint and a bit more work doing to it, but it's not an urgent job, and I may eventually rebuild my shed and start again with it, but for the time being it's standing, and it'll stay standing until we get more wind. But yeah, it's come on really well so far. And yesterday I spent most of the day planting more seeds. I've planted that many seeds over this last week. It's unbelievable. I'm just hoping I've got room on my plot for everything. I've planted that many. But we will find room. I'll have to create a second floor to my allotment. But yeah, I've planted so much. Yesterday was mainly planting all my runner beans, broad beans, French beans, dwarf beans, planting all them and getting them all ready for basically. I've sown them in pots this year because I usually plant them outside in the ground, but I've had a lot of trouble previously with mice and rats eating them all and not getting any crops from them. So I thought, I've read up on stuff like this before, and it says if you have trouble with mice and rats and birds, plant them in pots first until they get to a good decent size, and then plant them outside when the time comes, when they're ready. So that is what I'm going to do, and hopefully we'll still get a great harvest from them. Don't get me wrong, I still had a good harvest, but not as good as what I probably could have done, because I lost a lot of seeds to mice and rats eating and having their breakfast and enjoying their allotment food. So we've planted all them in pots, and it caused a bit of controversy because I shared the picture on Facebook and Instagram, and people were saying you planted too many in one cell and stuff like that. I just plant one in a cell, and whereas I planted four. But I can easily divide them when they start growing. It's just that I'm not wasting compost just for one seed. I might as well plant four in it and save compost. Plus, if I planted one per cell, I've had loads and loads of seed trays with seeds in, and I know I've got a massive shed, but I just can't make it that big. So we've clumped them together, and we'll just separate them once they start growing, and they're easy enough to separate, or beans and peas and stuff like that, and then we'll just plant them in the ground and look after them that way. So yeah, we've got all the legumes planted. And another thing that I've concentrated on planting up this week is all my pumpkins and my courgettes and my marrows, and getting all them planted because I do like growing them. Not necessarily I always use them. I give them a lot away to local groups and to friends and family and stuff like that for them to make soup. But I'm going to be looking at making my own soups this year. I've never really cooked much while I've lived on my own. I just tend to buy takeaways, but I really ought to start learning how to get some delicious recipes from them, because what's the point in me having an allotment with all this delicious vegetables and giving it all away? Yes, I do get all the enjoyment out of growing it, and that's the main reason why I do it. But yeah, I should actually start making use of everything that I grow and start trying to live off it. I am wanting to get healthier and fitter, obviously, so why not start eating actual my own vegetables and stuff like that? So hopefully we can start sharing some recipes as well, if they're any good, that is, if I make a good job of them. I'm not going to be sharing photos of my recipes if they're absolutely rubbish. But previously I did make a delicious rhubarb cake, which was absolutely beautiful and out of this world. So hopefully we can get sharing some of those with you. That's if you want me to share recipes with you on Instagram and Facebook, let me know. I'm always up for learning new stuff and sharing new stuff with you. So I have literally got everything that I desperately want to grow sown. I've still got my carrots to do, but I'm doing my carrots a different method this year. So stay tuned for that. And I've still got a load of other seeds left, but they're not the important things that I want to grow, so we can plant them at any time. I just need to concentrate on doing my next jobs first before sowing all them. We've got all those flowers planted, well sown, and I can't wait for them to start growing. We just need it to warm up so that they'll germinate in my greenhouse, because my greenhouse is unheated. I don't have a heater in it because obviously the allotments are quite open and stuff like that, so anybody can come down and go on the site, but it's unheated. I've never had a heater in it, and I've had success with sowing everything around this time of year in the greenhouse, and everything seems to germinate over time. So just give it a chance. Obviously, like I said, the temperature is going to drop tonight to 0 degrees, and then it's going to try snowing as well. So hopefully we're still able to get stuff to germinate in the coming weeks. So what have we been up to today, which is Wednesday? Well, it's been absolutely awful weather today. When I got to the allotment, it was chucking it down, it was cold. It was the day that you didn't want to go out into the allotment. But I got myself off down there and got myself in the shed working in there for a bit. And then I got on to starting to clear my polytunnel out, which I've not touched for 2 years inside my polytunnel. And I mean, when not touched it, there's weeds growing everywhere. Not weeds growing everywhere. Bindweed roots growing all over the place, because I have a big issue with bindweed on my plot. So I'm having to pull out all them roots and pull them all off at poles where it's tangled around and grown. So we've got all that to do. And yeah, I've just been using it as a dumping ground for the last 2 years, because obviously it's dry in there. I just chuck anything that I want to save in there, really. It's just like more of a storage area. And now that I'm going to be using it back into full action this year, I'm going to be giving it a massive clean out, and I need to disinfect it all, I need to mop it all, I need to really sweep it all out. And disinfecting it also gets rid of any diseases what might be hanging around and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a case of getting it back to its former glory and hopefully growing some fantastic produce in there this year. And I'm really looking forward to doing that, because I'm looking forward to growing melons this year, peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, chilies, all different sorts of things in there. I'm also going to try growing some of my carrots in there, where it's a bit warmer. Obviously it'll require them watering more often, but I'm going to be up for doing that, so we're going to try that in there this year. We're also going to try growing some mixed salad leaves in there as well. They should grow pretty fast inside there, so that we can keep snipping them off and having some for our dinner in my sandwiches. So we're going to be doing that. And yeah, I'm really going to utilise my polytunnel this year. It's going to be one of my main focal points. Last year my main focal point was trying different squashes. This year is going to be growing some fantastic produce in my polytunnel. I may even grow through it in winter this year. We shall see. I've never usually grown through the winter, as it's always too cold for me. I just prefer it for doing all my maintenance work on my plot and any improvements that I want to do. But I've done so much improvements this year that I don't think I'll have much improvements to do at the end of the year. You can't make something brilliant and then make it even more brilliant. Sorry, I'm getting a bit big-headed for myself. But yeah, this year I've spent so much time on improving it this year. There's still loads of work to do at the top of my plot, but hopefully we'll get onto that soon. I just want to get my polytunnel sorted and get that ready and in shape, ready for growing in there, and then I can move on to doing the top area of my allotment and getting my potatoes planted. I was meant to do that this week, but I've not got round to it. Obviously with it raining and being nasty and cold today, I didn't want to go outside and do that really in the cold weather. But we have been outside in the rain a bit today, because I went to Morrison's last night to buy some food, as you do, and our Morrison's has a garden centre inside it. And being a gardener, obviously you go and have a look. And I thought, oh, there won't be any good in there. Supermarkets never usually look after the plants. They usually just get plants in and then they all end up dead and stuff like that, and don't have much success with them. But I had a look, and the plants were in fantastic condition. They were lovely. And I spotted fuchsias at £1 each for like a cutting plant type thing. They were really healthy and really looking good. And they were all different varieties, and I thought, I've always wanted fuchsias on my allotment, but I've never got one. So I ended up having a look around, seeing what varieties they got, and I was wanting hardy varieties, because that means they will survive the frost and the cold weather. In the winter I don't have to dig them up and move them into the polytunnel and all that rubbish. But yeah, I wanted to try some different varieties. I managed to get 3 varieties of hardy fuchsias, and yeah, I thought £1, that's pretty good going really. I know obviously it probably costs less to make them because they've just taken cuttings off other things, but they were really well established cuttings, and they were really, really healthy and good. So I'm looking forward to them growing. So we planted them up, and then I was looking at the fruit, because I'm after honeyberries after seeing them on the Love Your Garden episode with Alan Titchmarsh, and I've still not got any. So I keep looking around everywhere whenever I go somewhere, and I couldn't find any. But I spotted thornless blackberries, and if you remember recently, I went to B&Q and I bought 3 from there, which I've planted, and they've taken quite well, and they're still alive and everything like that. But these thornless blackberries were £3.75 each, and they looked absolutely fantastic. They were in so much better condition leaves were massive on them, they're green and healthy, and absolutely fantastic. So I bought them, obviously. I bought them, and before I thought about where I could put them, I just bought them. I ended up buying them. I thought I best not look around anymore in there because I'll end up buying more stuff. But I'm still after lavender. Lavender's high on my list. That is the next thing that I want to get for my plot. So if anybody sees it cheap anywhere, I'll buy some. Obviously, you can get it in B&Q and stuff like that, but if it's as cheap as like I can get it like with fuchsias at Morrison's, I'd be happy with that. Even if it's a smaller plant, it will grow and get bigger and established over the years. So please do let me know if you spot any lavender around anywhere, and I will buy some. I've seen some in our Tesco, but I think it was just £1 cheaper than the ones in B&Q. But that is high on my priority list. And obviously, everybody that listens to this podcast, you're paying towards these plants, what I can talk about with you from the ad revenue. So keep on listening to these podcasts, keep sharing them, and you're obviously putting into these podcasts as well, which is fantastic. And I do appreciate your support in what you do. And there's so many new subscribers this month, it's unbelievable. I can't believe how much it's jumped this month, my podcast, from last month. It's fantastic. So thank you for all your support that out there. It really does mean a lot. And yeah, I've been getting a lot of good reviews as well from people recently and messages. So keep sending me messages, keep leaving reviews on these podcasts, and I'll enjoy reading them. So over the next 4 days, I'm going to be back at work, which is probably a good thing with the snow forecast and the cold weather. Hopefully, by the time I'm off again, which will be Monday, I'll be off Monday. Hopefully, the weather might change again and be nicer, and we can get that polytunnel finished off and all ready for growing in this year. It's probably going to take about another 2 days to get it all sorted. Just because there's that much rubbish in it. Can't believe how much rubbish there is in there. I'm not a tidy gardener at all, and I need to start to learn to be tidy and tidy up after I've done stuff and got it all sorted. So hopefully we'll get it all sorted next week. Oh, and also I've also purchased some bird feeders and bird food for the allotment, because I want to start attracting the birds to my allotment more, and attracting the birds to the plot will help them find all the insects and all the grubs and all the slugs, so it will encourage them to eat them all. Obviously, if you're attracting them to the plot and they're sitting in the trees and stuff like your fruit trees, they'll eat all the grubs and the insects what are in there, which damage your fruit and stuff like that. So it's good to encourage them to the site. And it's nice to see as well, nice to see all different birds on the allotment. So I'm going to be, hopefully, getting some good pictures of them. I would like to see lots of different types of birds. And hopefully, I'm going to, in fact, while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to add 2 bird boxes on my Amazon list. And hopefully attract some birds to the plot. Because I would like some bird nests on my plot as well. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some bird nests, bird boxes, and hopefully we'll get some blue tits, because that would be fantastic. So we best do that, because hopefully if we have the bird feeders, then they'll find a nice home nearby and hopefully start nesting. So yeah, I'm going to look at that. Is there any other sort of bird boxes you can get? I'd like some blue tits, obviously, get some blue tits. But I'd like robins to nest as well. But after I've sorted all the birds out, I'm going to be looking into butterflies next, how I can help the butterflies more on the allotment, and how we can help look after them. Obviously, they're good pollinators as well, jumping from flower to flower and from plant to plant. So I'm hoping to look into sorts of flowers for butterflies. So if you know much about butterfly plants, please do let me know. Obviously there's lilac out there, which is a butterfly plant, but obviously that self-seeds and that can shoot up everywhere and stuff, and that can be quite intrusive. So if there's any other sorts of butterfly plants out there, I would like to know about that. And after we've sorted out the butterflies, I need to sort out hedgehogs. I want to attract hedgehogs to the allotment more, because obviously they go around at night time eating all the slugs up, which is fantastic because slugs go out at night, and so the hedgehogs will eat them all. So if you've got any tips on how to attract hedgehogs to the allotment, please do let me know. Obviously I think you can get hedgehog homes, but we'll have to have a look into that and how the best way to attract them to the plot. So it's been a nice long episode today, to make up for not having an episode yesterday. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to be sprucing things up a bit in April, possibly making a new intro for it and an extra, and also hopefully getting some guests on as well. I'm looking at getting some guests onto the podcast, so if you've got any favourite bloggers out there or vloggers that do gardening, please send me a message, or if you've got a big following and stuff like that, please do let me know, because obviously if I get someone on with a big Instagram following and stuff like that and they share it on their feed, it helps boost my podcast as well, and more people will listen to it. So I'll only be looking out for people with big followers at the moment, and then possibly moving on to other guests and stuff like that. I just want to keep getting my podcast bigger at the moment, and keep growing it, as it's getting really successful. I can't believe how successful it's getting. If only I could do this full time, it would be amazing. One day I can live and dream, but it's so good to see so many new people joining us on this podcast and following it and subscribing to it. It does really make me smile, and it is worth just sitting in front of a microphone, just talking to yourself for 20 odd minutes and enjoying just talking, really. And I don't put no effort into editing it all and making it all professional and posh and stuff like that, which I know a lot of podcasters do. Maybe eventually I can afford to get someone to do it. But to record an episode every day and to edit it, it'd take forever. So I speak raw and straight from the mouth, really, straight into it. And I think that's why people enjoy it, because it's that raw and natural. And yeah, apparently I have a soothing voice, which always makes me smile when people tell me that. So thanks for listening to today's podcast, as always. Please do click that subscribe button if you're new to the podcast channel, and you will get notified when new podcasts come up. If you are on Spotify, click that share button, share it to your Instagram story and tag me in it, and I would appreciate it so much and help me grow these podcasts. Or if you've got a big Instagram following and you want to be on a podcast and just have a chat with me, feel free, send me a message, and hopefully we can get you on it on some of the first episodes. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.